Good afternoon, everybody. This is Eddie Potts here coming to you for episode number three of How to Become a Sales Warrior. My partner, my guest, Ty White.
How you doing, everybody? Ty. What's going on? Welcome to episode 3. I'm happy to be here.
Ty, what do you do?
I am the owner of Magic Junk and Cleaning. We are a moving junk removal and cleaning company. We service Long Island and all of the 5 boroughs in moving and junk removal needs. A lot of full house cleanouts. We do hoarders. We move people locally. We do cleaning for real estate agents who are trying to sell a house. Anything you need, we are the one-stop shop.
That's great. So we are here to take a journey into this book that I wrote and try to help another younger generation of men and women on how to get to be a little more successful, a little quicker than it took me in my 25 years to escalate to the top of the sales world.
Absolutely.
And I'm here to shorten up that length of time it takes you to get there just by giving you good networking tips, business tips, and read some stories from my book to help inspire. And I know, having worked on the Audible, I've read the story to you, and they've inspired you. And
I've digested that story, believe me, and I use it every day. Little things that I could just draw back to from the book, and I read a lot, but little things that help me daily in my sales journey. That's why I'm here.
I'm glad you're here with me sharing it.
Appreciate you.
This week, we're jumping into Olin Mills. If anyone doesn't know what Olin Mills was, it was a company that would go into churches and take pictures of all their parishioners and then create a yearbook for the parishioners. And it was really that simple, except getting the yearbook was the challenge. So graphics and technology is definitely not where it is today. And there were just always problems within the territory that I took over. And I took over this territory, and the part that I really want to emphasize on is when you do take a job, do your recon. Yeah. Do your research, who was there before you, what they were doing, and how they were doing it. Because my company had a horrible reputation. I took a job where everyone hated the company.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
That's not good, you know. Yeah. And I go from church to church and say, yeah, they came, they took the pictures, never got the yearbook. So I had to figure out where the weakness was, and then, like I do at every job, I come up with a plan. And the plan was, I was in the printing industry, so I knew a little bit about layout and design. Mm-hmm. I told every father, pastor, minister who said, yes, I'll do the project with you, Eddie, I will come back after the shoot's all done, and I'll give you 3 hours of my time. And during that 3 hours, we will put together the yearbook, and we'll ship it out that night. And that little guarantee turned me from bottom of the level sales guy, 15 people. Within the first year, I was number 2.
Wow.
Just by offering that one thing. I identified the one weakness, and I wrote it, and that to me is a testament to doing the research, finding out, what does this job take to be successful?
Well, it also sounds like the people there before you were just kind of signing people up and letting them drift off into the wind.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than seeing the thing all the way through, which is what a good salesman does. At the end of the day, you can't just take an order, fill the order, and just, hey, no. That's what I see you do. You jump into 4 different departments just to make sure that deal went through, and I see you do that today.
So the Olin Mills journey, it ended, 2 years, 3 years, but there's one story I love to tell. And this has to do with showing up big at the right moments. They had sent me to Missouri to train under an older woman. She's probably 20 years my senior, who was a 20-year vet, and she'd done some pretty good numbers, and they wanted me to spend some days with her. And I went out, and we did the computer thing, we did this thing, we did that thing, and then at the end of one of the days, she says, get ready for tomorrow morning. We're going to role play. I said, excuse me? She goes, yeah, we're going to role play. I'm going to pretend to be the pastor, and you're going to be the new rep. I'm like, you're kidding, right? And she looks at me inquisitively. No, that's what we're doing. I'm like, no, we're not. Goes, what do you mean? No, that's that. I got to make sure you know what you got to say. And I'm like, I've been studying for a few weeks. How about we get in your car and we drive out to a church and let me either fall on my face or make it happen. Oh, Mr. Cocky New York guy. let's go right now. Okay, let's go right now. And we jumped in her little car and drove off 30 miles in the middle of Missouri, pull up to a church, small, very nice outside, not too big, not too small. Get ready to go knock on the front door, and she walks up to the door as if she's going to knock on it. And I'm like, whoa, what are you?
She was getting nervous before you.
I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I said, I got this. 2 taps on the door. A young pastor my age comes to the door. How could I help? And like magic, all the practice that I did on the airplane, all the practice I did before I went out there, I sold the church on that one sales call, that very first sales call. Like he was all in, picking dates for our team to come.
Yeah.
And she was pissed.
Didn't like it. Yeah.
She didn't like it.
She took you out there to try to expose you, and then it kind of kicked her in the butt.
And that's what I mean by being big in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, I was ready, though. She didn't know I was studying. I was reading the material. I was understanding the program. And I knew my rap, and I knew what it was. And she doubted me. And it's like, don't doubt me. If you do your homework, again, nothing can get in your way. Nothing at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I worked for Renewal by Anderson, and they used to kind of have a sales driven training that was similar, you know, where they just kind of always wanted to have their foot on your neck. And when I came in, I let them know, like, listen, I know how to speak. Just let me go do what I got to do. I don't need to be babysat. I started writing the most demos, allowing, because I wasn't even a salesman. I'm the guy that allows the salesman to come in, set the demo, get the people to agree to have a sit down with us. As soon as I started, I wrote the most demos. Automatically, they were like, all right, hold on. Someone wanted to promote me to salesman. So then they were like, well, hold on. We need to see what he's saying to people. They put a tape recorder in my pocket to see what literally.
They don't even exist anymore.
They put it in my pocket to see, you know, what I was saying to the people. And they're like, how is he getting so many people to agree? And they ended up promoting me to salesman. And the people who were put the tape recorder in my pocket to try to get me, it ended up, they started using that recording for training and like, listen to this, listen to this guy's tape. Try this model, you know.
That's funny.
So
that is funny. All right, it's old man time. I got to put my glasses on. So we're headed into networking tips.
What do you got for us this week for the networking tips? You just came from.
I just came.
I want you to tell a little bit about where you just came from.
I just came from Las Vegas, the International Builders Show, which is actually 4 shows in one. KBiz. It's just 4 different organizations that take up the entire Las Vegas Convention Center. Yeah. One of the things that I do, and I even do it right here on Long Island, when I'm going to an event, I always show up early. You know me, always show up early. I show up early to meet the host. Yeah. And the reason I do that is the host knows everybody. The host knows everyone I would want to meet. So meeting the host, getting to know them, first name basis, like I did with Ted. Remember Ted from Melville Chamber?
Ted McGlone, yeah.
I never met him until I started to come to the events and walking up to him directly. And then next thing you know it, I'm buying a membership. And, you know, having that one-on-one with that person puts you in their focus. So when people are joining the group and he's at all these other events and he hears something, you know, he's a good reliable source.
Yeah, he runs the whole chamber, and every time we see him, he gives us a nod. So, you know.
Another tip I just mentioned, always being early, but not just to meet the host, but meet the guests that are coming in. Yeah. Because as they're coming up to that check-in, they always say the name of that company. Yeah. You know, you and I both know we can pick up little tidbits, what company the name is, if it's something that might be in our wheelhouse, interesting for us. One of the things I saw out of Vegas was people drinking too much. I'm all, you know me, I'm all for a good time. Yeah. But mix in your water with your drinks. Yeah. One Vegas drink, one
you're
water.
In Vegas, you know,
one drink, pace yourself. Don't want to see you on the other side giving it to the garbage pail. Just not necessary. Rookies, amateurs, people who were just, you know, out of there. It was a big party, and it really was
probably
for me.
Had a lot of people's first time in Vegas too. You know, so
for me, it wasn't a big party. It was work, but it was fun work. It was energetic work. Getting people to come to the booth, being able to from over here, being able to see their badge name. And just look as they turn their head. Hey, Jimmy, you automatically, if someone calls your name, you look. And when they look, I'm able to throw, hey, how's the storage at your project site? 5 quick words. Yeah. Keep walking. Okay, that's you keep walking. Or, oh, yeah. And I had 145 of those. Oh yeah. In a 3-day period. It was crazy. It really was.
That's stay focused is a great tip, because most of the events are usually fun.
Yeah,
A lot of these expos,
exactly.
a lot of these events and business networking groups, events, they're really fun. They're at a place that's cocktail hours and things like that. So you got to really make sure you stay focused, because you can slip into having too much fun and forget why you're there.
I'm going to dial it back to a networking event where I met Erica from here. And we were at a Melville Chamber event.
What restaurant was
at
that?
No, we're at the Hamlet, right, in Comac.
Oh.
And, you know, we were talking, and I might have had too much to drink that night. Yeah, I did. She knows I did. But I was trying to help her. I wanted to connect her. I wanted to see who in my organization, my networking group, my people, who could I help you? And when she started talking about this studio, it made me want to help her. Hence, I brought her down to my networking group on Tuesday to speak in front of everyone to try to get the word out. You really got to, if you got a podcast or you want to do a commercial, that this studio is really fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to be a connector for other people is a networking tip I push to everybody.
Yeah, what can I do for you, as well as what we could do for each other.
And the last is, don't be the person that goes out into your car and does your follow-up that afternoon, that evening,
Calls
that
every
night.
card you got.
It's like, wait a little bit. Give it a day, a couple of days. Don't be over anxious. They're not going to forget you unless you're forgettable.
Yeah.
That's...
People are planning and prepping for these things so much that once it's over, they kind of want to decompress a little. If you got a huge trade show coming up in the next couple of weeks and you're prepping, and every day, you're getting all your stuff together, the day after you kind of want to relax. Yeah. But I do want to say a networking tip that I've learned from you that you do. I see you do it at every show or every event that we go to. Ask for the roster.
There you go.
Of
who showed up,
who's in attendance, who showed up, what businesses are there. And it's amazing how willing people are to give that give you that information.
If you're a member, sure.
Let me get a roster. That way, if I didn't get to touch everyone that was in the building, now I can do a follow up when I choose. And I take that from you as well.
So we move from the networking tip right into the trade show, which is on. Obviously, I put that on today's list because of the Vegas trade show. And this is straight out of what I did with my team. So I had 3 other men with me out there. I had the lead, and I had to make sure booth was set up right day before. I had to make sure the equipment was there, the lead generator, carpeting, make sure all that stuff was in place. So when the team showed up on Tuesday, doors open 9 a.m., we're ready to go. But some of the things that I saw that were really frustrating were people sitting on the chairs, which is okay. You're tired. You stood for an hour working on their computers. Now, I had told 2 of my men that were there early, I said, there will be no computers. No, I said that on Monday. Show's Tuesday. We're an hour into the show, and one of the gentlemen pulls out his computer, and what are you doing? Just like daddy to a kid. What are you doing? Well, this person just emailed me. I got to get this. I said, no, you're not in the office today. You're here. You're focused on here. You're focusing on all these people walking by. That can either wait till the show's over later, your lunch break, or tomorrow. But that's not today. And he wanted to get offended, but he knew I was right. You can't be staring at your phone. You can't be staring on the computer.
What business is walking right past you?
Right. And I would stand there like this and say, 3, 4, count how many people walk by that he didn't look up to see. Oh, I'm watching. I'm like, 3 people walk by. Your head didn't lift up.
Keep watching.
So that, the computer, the phone, put it down. And the reason I say that is whoever's running the show needs to make sure that you have shifts. Shifts are needed. People need breaks. So we had 3 breaks during the day that I organized. First one was to go get a massage at the massage chairs. They had like 50 of them in this area. And I gave everyone 20 minutes. Go get some coffee, get some water, go sit in the massage chair, take your break. Told everyone to go take an hour lunch break. Go. Just go. We have people here. Go. I don't care what you do. And one of the guys who's pretty busy, I told him at 4 o'clock, because the show opened until 5, I said, go sit in the food court. Stay here, do your work. Whatever it is that you think you got to do after work, do it now. So when we get out of here, we can go party and have some fun. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about your work. And they looked at me like they weren't expecting that. Yeah. That's not what they were expecting. But if you make sure everyone has breaks, make sure you got to keep them motivated. Yeah. You got to keep them eye on the prize.
It sometimes could get a little little slow, and you know, you got to keep yourself in the game.
And it's not cheap being there.
Yeah, no.
You know, this is a very expensive show to spend money at, to not take full advantage of it. The other thing is I rented a lead retrieval machine. So a few of the people online with me were debating whether to get the handheld machine or get the app on your phone.
Mhm.
Well, if it's on my phone, then my phone's always got to be there. That's number one. And then someone said, and Mark might be able to answer this later, do you really want them to have access on your phone?
Yeah.
I don't know. Contact information goes here and there. So anyway, I got the lead retrieval machine, and everyone who comes into the show has a tag and a barcode. You just scan the barcode, name, number, email address, everything right there.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
and of course, I got there, and our company didn't have it reserved for us, and it was $670. And my partner's sitting there, and he's like, "What are we gonna do?" I'm like, "What do you think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna what? We're not gonna do it because someone has to lay out the money."
Yeah.
And he like looked at me, and I'm like, "Dude, don't let that be the reason
Yeah, for real,
you
man.
didn't get all
that
the
data,
leads."
That data is serious, man.
Tell me about that. Tell me about that.
With with the way I do it when I do my business cards is everybody that I scan my business card with, it gives them a form to automatically fill out and give back to me. So soon as they hit save to their phone and my whole thing comes down onto their phone, they exit out of that. A nice form comes up. Boom, 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 boom. It all comes right to my email. A nice fresh email. This person that scanned your card, and they're now in your database.
Well, I would love to be able to go to an event
Yeah.
here on Long Island, pick up the lead retrieval machine when I get in.
Yeah.
Everyone has a tag and just zap everyone. You know, no opening it up on the phone. No, you know what I'm saying? Just the shortcut. The shorter cut to the digital card. I didn't see any digital cards when I was out there.
Yeah.
Nobody was obviously with so much activity and so many booths to see. It was straight up business cards.
Yeah.
Everybody. And you know, you had the feel. I didn't come with any. You go to Vegas without any business cards. I don't even understand that. This is an art form. I mentioned it a few minutes ago, and it really plays big in my success. And the three other gentlemen who were there with us, I let them do their thing until I saw their thing. Little strategic things at a trade show. And the gentleman was standing on the extreme right of my booth, and people were flowing this way. 99% of the people flowing this way. And they'd come, and now they're almost at the end of the booth, and he says something that catches their eye, but nothing that's making them turn around and come back.
Yeah.
And I finally walked up to him, and I'm like, Larry, we're not going to have this shouting game. We're just not going to do it. You're going to stand on the other side. When they first enter our booth zone, you're going to stare at them as they're walking by, and you're going to look at their card, and you're going to call their name out. And when you're done calling their name out, you're going to offer them something or ask them a question that by the time they get to the end of your booth, they either have an answer or they're coming over to talk to us. One of the two is going to happen.
Smart.
He got insulted.
Yeah.
The other guy I told to jumped right in. All of a sudden, he started seeing results. People coming over to talk, people who weren't interested on their way, not just wasted screaming at people as they're passing by.
Yeah.
So, you know, be calculated with your
Your approach.
sales pitch when you're standing on the floor of a trade show and you want to talk to people, know your audience and be able to speak right to them. But being able to see their card, I mean, I'm blessed with good vision.
Be willing to adjust based on what's going on.
Right.
You know, like you said, you've seen the flow of traffic, you've seen your opportunity, your window of opportunity, and you were like, hey, let's try to catch him at the end of it. Let's get him at the beginning, and instead of pitching him or whatever he was doing, ask him a question, call him by name, get them to look at you. And take that second before they come and walk over. Now you have, that's.
I felt good about it because the second guy did it. The third guy tried it first,
and it started yielding results.
And he just turned to me and he smiled. He goes, "You're the boss. You tell me what to do. I'm going to try it. I've never been to a show with you. I've never been to a show with anyone from Pods that knew what they were doing. So I'm more than willing to listen to you."
Yeah, listen to the guy with the best numbers. I think he should.
Yeah, there you go. It always comes to the best number.
I think you should listen.
You know what time it is?
Is it old-fashioned
It
time?
is old-fashioned
Who do we
time.
have coming down for
We
old-fashioned
have
today?
Mark Simpson. Oh, I got to go back to the first card because I wrote it down. He is within the Integritus group. He is the CFO. He is a good friend of mine for many, many years. I coached Mark's daughter, I think, for her first 5 years of Pee Wee soccer with my daughter. And come on out here, Mark.
This is the guy that watches us all while we sleep?
This is the guy that watches us. Eye in the sky.
Eye in the sky. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with the guests in old-fashioned time.
Here we go. Welcome back, everybody, to episode number 3 of How to Become a Sales Warrior. I'm here with my partner, Ty.
How you doing, everybody?
And like we mentioned before, we have a special guest in the house, a good friend of mine, Mark Simpson, and we are going to toast to the old-fashioned.
Cheers.
Today's conversation of old-fashioned, old and new. Ty, you're going to take that away?
So, our old-fashioned way of lead generation, I like your story that when you found that big deal out of the newspaper, and the articles and different ways you can even just watch the news and find out different things in the morning when they're doing the business section on where to target and where to go and when people are making big moves, and as opposed to just waiting for what comes through your channels. You know, like when I started my business, a lot was Angie's List and Yelp and these things like that, rather than organically going out and looking for business. And these things all run you through.
You can't be afraid to hear no.
Yeah.
That's one of the most important things, yeah.
And when you see these big things, and when you see these things like, I think it was
Burger King or something. Burger King.
I'm like, what was it?
Burger King was selling off. They were buying back, parent company buying back 600 franchises. And during the buyback, they were going to renovate all 600 locations. So I immediately went into investigative mode, tore the article out, put it on my bulletin board. He saw it in me, and I'm like telling him what I'm doing. And I'm tracking people down, and I'm making contacts, and I'm trying to make it. And I finally I found the connection. And I said this to Ty, you know, I think I'm very accomplished. And there's no question I can't answer. And this guy got me, man. Like, he had a situation where he needed a fulfillment center. I've never been that person for any of my clients. But I knew some of our national guys did. Didn't matter. He wanted nothing to do with me once I told him I couldn't do it. Like, I was just loose change to him. Really frustrating because I really thought. And then I sent him a follow-up email saying, listen, I know you don't need me. You did say that your contractors do. Do you think you can introduce me to your contractors? He went crickets on me.
You did something really good too, though. You didn't overpromise,
right?
Because if you took that lead and then couldn't deliver on it, then you've just shot your reputation.
I was so bummed out when I got off the phone, and I immediately called. Again, learning. You're willing to learn. I'm willing to learn. I picked up the phone, called my national sales guy. I said, Jim, what do we do here? And he said, oh, we got this company that can do that. I'll see if I can get to the name and number. And he jumped into action to help me. And I was ready for round 2. I was ready now. And then the guy just, it's over. Goodbye. So, but your way, how are you digitally doing it?
Well, I want to give a big shout out to Thumbtack Pro and the service industry, because I've done a lot of work with Thumbtack. I've done campaigns with Yelp and Angie's and a lot of different things. But as far as good leads, if you're just starting a business and let's say you're a house cleaner, let's say you're a handyman, let's say you're a painter, anything like that, you're going to want to take a couple of bucks and get started up on Thumbtack, because Thumbtack gives you direct leads. They don't give you a phone number to their database where you can only reach the customer through them. They actually give you the customer's real number. So once this person vets you out and they say, hey, I want to deal with this person, they handpick you. You get charged whatever the fee is, which is very fair, I believe, with Thumbtack, and you get the customer's direct number, and you're able to take that, put that into your own CRM, and then take the lead from there. They don't hold on to you like, honestly, Angie's List.
They hang on to. They want the data.
Do you give your customers ever like a discount if they refer business to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because
Yeah,
that's usually one of the most powerful things. Word of mouth referrals. Yeah.
And I'm seeing that now. I've been in the industry for a couple of years. It was my first year in business on my own. But being in the industry and having taken my old book of business from where I was into, I'm seeing the referrals and I was able to shut off so many different channels because
if people Google
word of
you,
mouth,
right? If they Google you and they look at the reviews, and you have a bad review, that kills you.
Yeah.
So that piece of that managing that digital media, social media piece now is so important to any lead gen now.
Yeah, and sites like Thumbtack, they penalize you big time for a bad review. Like it's a bad review could sink the whole ship. Right. You know, one bad review and then you're not showing up at the top of the searches anymore. You're not showing up in the, when people are searching these keywords. So I just want to give that shout out to Thumbtack because that's what we got started on.
So I invited Mark here today. He technically doesn't fit the sales category, but in my world, he does.
Okay.
He's a CFO. He's been a CEO.
I'm so sorry. I wanted to wait for a spot where you...
You want to bring his mic closer, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
I know it. I knew it. I was like, how are we going to do it?
Yeah, I just had to stop. You're going to have to edit that part, but yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
I'll do the why I brought Mark in here. Why?
Yeah.
Start there.
Start right at that spot, but right when you see this camera change... I'm going to change to your 2 shot.
Okay.
So that's when you're going to do it, because I haven't stopped recording.
Okay. I gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just edit through all of that.
Once it goes to him, we'll go. It's my good side.
Go ahead.
Look at that. Over there. There you go. So the reason I brought Mark in, he doesn't really fit the salesman category, but after knowing him for as long as I do, he is. He is a very big catalyst for sales and all the businesses that he has been in charge of as a CFO, a CEO. Sales is in his blood. And that's the reason we brought him in here today, because everywhere he's gone, his companies have blown up and done some amazing numbers. We've tried over the years to connect job-wise. It hasn't happened yet.
We're not done.
Someday, somewhere. So we got a couple of questions here we're going to ask. I'm going to jump in first. If you could share an experience in selling your security solution and what kind of products and services have you successfully sold in the past that may be different than what you're selling now?
Sure. Well, so I'll just tell you different stories if that works for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the interesting things, so I have a lot of time in the alarm space. And one of the things that happened in the alarm space, there was a company called Vivint. And they,
I know them. I have them.
There you go. Okay, well, you know how they started?
Solar power, right?
No.
Okay.
So they were door knockers. Okay. And they took religion. They were Mormons. And they took religion. They were door knocking. And they basically perfected the door-to-door sales. Right? This is all known in the security space as a whole. But they basically would send a team, and the thought was, hey, if we can sell religion, why can't we sell security systems? And so
they're from Utah.
They are from Utah. Yeah. They're based in Utah. Okay, and a lot of other companies started replicating the model, but they were the original ones that blew it up. And basically, they would say, okay, we have a salesperson, and then we have an installation. So they knock on your door at 10 o'clock in the morning. The van's there at 12 o'clock. Boom, and you got a sale. It was one of the most successful lead gen situations that we saw because it was right in your face, direct.
Canvassing, yeah.
Now, I tried to do this in Long Island. It did not work.
Get out!
It did not work at all. Right? Yeah, I was like, I brought in Mormons. I was like, you guys sure you're Mormons? They're playing flag football. I'm like, I thought you were supposed to be knocking on doors.
That's funny. But what other products do you sell? Have you sold? And what are you specializing in right now?
So just in my space, we've sold security solutions across the board. And when I say that, everything from residential home security alarms to retail quick serve to K through 12 to mom and pop to national retailers. So a lot of what we sell is again, security is kind of a tricky situation. There's a couple different verticals. When you think your house, okay, like I'm selling security, it's safety, it's like peace of mind. Okay, but when we're selling to a business, a lot of what we're selling now is information as well. How do you take that? Well, data is like the holy grail of everything. Now, how do you take that data and use it? But because there's so much video in the world now, how do you take that video? How do you use that? And we're selling really awareness and information, and how do you make that information actionable? So security, as you know it, is really just changed. So all the different products we sell are basically something that would be a return on investment type scenario where, hey, like right now, currently at the Integritus Group, a lot of what we focus on is retail loss prevention. So what does that mean? I don't know if you guys have followed the news where you've seen earnings have been hit pretty hard, right?
In the retail sector, absolutely.
Well, the retail sector because of shoplifting.
Shoplifting,
Right? So what do we do? So customers say, okay, I've got 5% shrink on $1 million store. Okay? So you're losing $50,000 is walking out the door. So somebody like us comes in and we provide outsourced loss prevention services to hopefully reduce that shrink. So let's suppose you pay us, I'm just making up numbers, $20,000. You've now saved $30,000. You've got a return on that investment.
Yeah.
And you don't have to hire the staff because the way the world is today, it's tricky. It's like inconsistent.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can outsource a solution where you can go up and down as you need it versus hiring fixed overhead, we try to be very we try to be very cognizant. Even as you running a business, it's one of the trickiest and hardest parts there is now.
Yeah.
Wow. So how do you approach prospecting and generating your leads for what you do?
So again, you kind of want to hear what the customer says. So I'm going to talk really more from a commercial side. Tell me what your problem is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then depending what your problem is, to your point earlier, I might not have that specific solution, but I know somebody who does.
There you go.
At this point in time.
There you go.
And so I might not get that business today, but that referral, so hey, they need something that Ed can provide, and I'll send it over there. You know what? He's remembering me.
100%.
Right? So I just think of a situation, even when a customer's a hard no, and again, in my role, I always tell people I sell by not selling.
Yeah.
Right? It's more like you're making a relationship. What can I do? Oh, you need something? Okay, let's talk it through. But a lot of what I tell my team is listen to what the customer needs, and then can we provide a solution that makes sense? And if we can't, maybe we can introduce them to somebody that can.
So funny, like at the trade show, when I was telling the team how they should approach the people walking by, and it was really point blank. Jimmy, got any storage needs at the job site or at the warehouse? Something as direct as that. And yeah, I got a problem.
Yeah, actually I do.
Actually, I do. Or
Yeah.
they'd laugh. I never understood why people were laughing at my question. It just drove me nuts for 3 days. People just laughing. What's so funny about asking you a question if you have storage needs? I'm at a trade show, wear pods. It's not that funny.
But you're being aggressive.
Of course.
Yeah. And
Of course. They find that funny.
Well, listen, I find that in my side, I would say, can I replicate your attitude and put that across all our salespeople?
Yeah. See, in my industry, it's everybody I talk to, if you don't need me, someone you know needs me.
100%.
Your mom probably has an attic that needs to get cleaned out, a basement. Someone in your family's moving next month. Somebody, someone's going into a nursing home and they need to figure out what to do with all of this. At some point, you don't need me now, you're going to need me eventually.
Right.
That's why it's always good to develop those good relationships and make people remember you.
And I'll tell you what, especially in our area, you get that positive review on Comac Moms.
Oh my God, you're a hero. You're a hero.
And what did that cost you? As running zero.
Nothing.
Right?
Nothing.
Are you on Comac Dads?
Of course.
Okay, because I posted something the other day.
Comac Moms, Comac Dads, I think you get more information from those sites than anything else. Yeah.
My mom is out in Coram. She's on those neighborhood watch, all of that stuff. And that anything a cat goes down the street, the whole neighborhood knows about it.
Oh, yeah. Helicopter. And so it's helicopters for 20 minutes. Nothing I've ever heard, but I see it on the notifications.
So I know you're on the outside looking into the sales team, but I also know you have input. What strategies do you help your sales leaders employ to getting the new business? What do you bring to the table in that part?
Well, so I'll answer that in two ways. So every now and then I got to pretend to be the finance guy.
Right.
All right. And so in a real corporate environment, there's metrics driven situation, the nasty stuff that's like, how many sits did you do? How many calls did you make and whatnot? Okay. So that's kind of, that's kind of the metric based type situation that we do. But then to your point earlier, I sell too, and I'm not afraid to be in front of customers. And one of the things that I like to see people do, and what you do a really good job is be organized.
Yeah.
How do you structure your day? And you might say, hey, look, from 9 to 11 in the morning, I'm just going to follow up on calls or whatnot. And a lot of, in our business, businesses we've been involved in, a lot of what we do, a lot of the way we sell is selling to our existing base. It's a common term in the security space, but it's called mining your base. And sometimes in our sales team, we have hunters. Like Ed would be a hunter, you know, and then we have farmers, which don't really land the big whales or whatnot.
They nourish.
Right.
Nurture.
You know what I'm talking about. So and you want salespeople to believe. The other thing too is you want people to believe in their product. And the last thing is when you make a sale, a couple of organizations I've been in that are very successful, when the salesperson says something, operation team jumps for them.
Yeah.
Because what's the hardest part of a business?
Getting the business.
Right. And it's so hard to get, and it's so easy to lose, right?
Getting the business.
Right.
That's the hardest part.
Right.
So I want to know, like, a complex security solution that you've given to, let's say, a school or you know, a big commercial, like something that was pretty complex, and then how did you communicate the value of that solution to the client?
I think he's got one.
Yeah, I think you got
I've got, you know, depending on
interesting stuff.
Depending on the
Decade we're talking about.
different parts of the country and different times in my career.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back 20 years or so. I was involved in a company in North Carolina. Okay, it was kind of a pseudo startup restructuring type deal. And what we did is we sold interactive video monitoring. What does that even mean? You know, back then people didn't know, but it's video. And we come online, you say, please be advised, this is security, you know, if you need anything, whatnot. Okay. So the goal of that was to avoid conflict. So like we have daughters, and I have daughters. So my 20-year-old daughter is working at a local store and there's a shoplifter or something like that. To avoid putting her in that confrontation, you could hit a panic button. We come on. So imagine here's all the video. We come on. Hey, please be advised. This is such and such security. There's, you know, can I help you with something? So what are you doing? You're providing safety. Okay. You're providing hopefully reducing shrink. Okay. And then when you provide a safe environment for your employees, you're reducing turnover. Right.
Yeah.
So and what we're starting to sell security to, and this example I'm talking about is a national retailer, okay, and it was a dollar store, national retailer, and so what we would do, they had a security guard. Security guard was getting about, say, $5,000 a month or so. So we'd go in and say, hey, look, we can replace the security guard, okay, and it costs you $1,500 a month. Now, initially, you're like, oh, this is great. But then at that point in time, where our big challenge is saying, wait a second, you're going to provide security without a person there? Is that going to really work? Lo and behold, 600 stores later, it seemed to work. And it was one of our biggest success stories early on for one of our companies. So that's on the retail stuff.
There's a lot of layers to security, man.
Yeah.
There's so many. There's layers to it.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So every company I've been at, there's different stories.
Yeah.
You know, and the one thing I would tell you is, you know, in my world as CFO, sales, whatever you want to call it, and you probably see this too, as you build your career and you get involved with different situations with customers, with employees, what they don't tell you is a lot of what my job is couch therapy. You're either walking customers through situations because they made a big decision.
Yeah.
You're dealing with your employees. And how do you know, I almost say my job is like air traffic control because you got, say, a board member who might have a perspective here. You have a technician who just wants to get paid each week, but what he does or she does is the most valuable thing for the impression of how that customer perceives you. Because
the end product.
That end product flows up to that boss, flows up to that boss, then eventually flows up to the big boss. And controlling that and making sure people are aware is a very critical component.
I have a sub question under that. So you can probably see, like, when you're doing these walkthroughs and you're talking to these different businesses and stuff, you can probably see how serious some people are about their stuff and how some people are like, you're like, hey, you need this, you need to secure this. And they're like looking at it like, so you have to like I said, if the price is high, but you're letting them know how much they're saving by what they're not losing anymore. That's
Okay, so again, so different. Another one of my past experiences was selling in schools. Okay,
Yeah.
and now if you guys, unfortunately, in the world we live in, how many school shootings have there been?
yeah,
At least 20 in the past 10 years.
Who cares what the price is?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
At that
yeah,
point,
Conversation.
Yeah,
One
yeah,
conversation.
And not only that, as a administrator of a school, you have a responsibility,
yeah.
right? Because
Safety
it's
of your kids.
you want to make sure that hey, whatever I've done, I've secured the best of my ability, put the solutions in place. Yeah, it might cost some money, but how do you even quantify the cost versus an incident? Right?
Do some of your solutions, are they all tech or do they include manual, like security guards and stuff as well? Do you provide that too?
So we're not I'm friendly with guard companies. We don't provide that. But on the Integritus side, we do provide outsourced labor. Okay? And what I say by that, so let's just make up any company. I don't know, call it CVS. That's not a customer or anything. Okay? So CVS might have a loss prevention department. Okay? Now, again, let's think about this. From a finance side, loss prevention, when you look at it from a top level, that's just a cost, right?
Yeah.
Cost of doing business.
Right. However, that loss prevention is basically impacting your bottom line by reducing shrink, reducing turnover, right? And increasing safety. I don't know if you guys are following, like you see what's happening in San Francisco, parts of the city now.
Where all the major chains are leaving?
Why?
Every one of them.
Why?
Security.
There you go.
Security.
And not only that, security. But
Lack of security.
Lack of security. But what happens when you have lack of security? The profitability of that store, you can't justify it and just all the way down. It's just,
Well, just the fact that you mentioned that you can affect the turnover rate with employees, that's an angle that I didn't even think about.
Well, here's another one.
And that's like, wow.
Here's another one that we see a lot. And this is just because we live in a litigious society. So a regular store, you walk in and a customer slips and falls walking into the store. That customer now turns around and sues the store. So store turns around, wait a sec. That, we've seen several incidents where if you go back to the video, customer just falls down, like intentionally falls down.
It just throws
And
themselves
so
on the floor.
what you saw, like a couple, I would say 10, 15 years ago, they would be known as slip and falls. And this would happen like, we keep video for a couple weeks and whatnot. Then as the industry and the attorneys got smarter, say, oh, wait a few months, wait 6 months. Now it requires customers. Now it's not uncommon for retailers to keep 6 months of video purely just to protect themselves if someone ever slipped in.
Unbelievable.
And so when you think security, it's really a whole different dynamic now.
layers.
Correct.
All right. So how do you stay up to date on the latest trends, and how do you transfer that to your team? How do you keep them up to date? Because I know I've seen your computer setup at home. You got like 9 screens going on.
So the smartest thing I do is knowing I'm not the smartest guy.
There you go.
Right.
Amen
So
to that.
I'm very lucky to work with some of the top professional people from a technology standpoint in the security space. So I rely on them heavily, and literally stuff changing every day.
Every day.
And
Every
to
day.
keep pace is very difficult. And when you run a business, one of the things you have to decide is, okay, here's what we're doing today.
Right.
And you can't just say, oh, the newest thing came out, we're going to do that. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, because I'm sure you set somebody up with a brand new system and then the new one comes out 3 months later and you're like,
Well, not
What
only
are you
that,
gonna do?
not only that, they're different. How do you support it? You have to train
Do you
your
have
team.
to take down everything, all your infrastructure from the old system?
and what you saw now, the world is kind of changing where it's more open source.
yeah.
10, 15 years ago, it was common to be, oh, well, we're going to be proprietary and everything's on. You've got to use my system.
Yeah, that's
Now,
going by the wayside.
That's correct, because it's not beneficial for folks at this point in time.
I'm reading the story on the CEO, Dan Elk from Spotify. Fantastic read. I read almost the whole book on the flight out to Vegas. And the one thing, I loved about his passion was not knowing the latest technology, helping create the latest technology.
Yeah.
Like, just blew my mind, like how this guy was so determined. And there were so many times since 2006 that this company could have gone belly up.
Well, look, there's so much cool stuff. But again, let me put my finance hat on for a second. It could be cool, but how do you make money with it?
Yeah.
And how and as a salesperson, how do you sell it?
Right. How do you sell it?
Right? And if you even go further, do I even want to how do I get leads if you say, hey,
Right, we're going to change our business model, but how am I going to find leads for this?
Exactly.
How do you now? I'm sure you have a lot of competition because everyone's in the tech and there's a lot of different security things going on. How do you set yourself apart from? If I'm a new business, I got a huge building, I need security, and 3 different companies came down. Why do I pick you?
I'm going to tell you a really poor answer that people don't like that I say.
I like it.
No, this is a fact. Look, a bunch of people can come, whether it's a building or a retail store or school. People can put in cameras and put in solutions and whatnot. Okay? One might do this, one might do that. At the end of the day, at least what I say, it's the people. It's the team that you've built. It's the people that'll say that security is a 24/7 business.
Yeah.
When you have people that are basically focused on 24/7 and with the motto, hey, I got to take care of the customer. That's when I go to market now. The only differentiator I say is, it's the people and the team that we have in place.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the folks at Integritus, like I have a weird mentality, but when people text me at 11 o'clock at night, I'm like, oh, this is good.
That's working. It's working.
And if someone calls me or if I get, and I'm not saying no work-life balance or anything like that. However,
Well, in your industry,
in our industry, it's almost like the way Ed is, when you're in sales, you're always on, and in security, when it's a 24/7 business,
it's always on. Oh, I love that.
always
right?
on.
Good.
You're always on.
You're always on.
I went after Disney last week. Probably a month ago, I met a gal who took a container from ESPN. Dialed her up. I said, I know you're a residential customer, but this is who I am. I'm up in Bristol all the time. I said, do you think you could help me? Real nice lady. She said, no, you help me first. Tell me where my container is. So I said, okay. Find her container. Okay, what do you want? Can you introduce me to the relocation team up at ESPN? She goes, no, I cannot. I'm like, why is that? Because ESPN has nothing to do with the relocation team. It's all handled by Disney now. They own us. Like, oh. I said, would you happen to know someone at Disney that I could speak with about possibly becoming a vendor? Do you, Eddie? I'll do it. Took her 10 days. She got me the name and number of the senior VP of relocation. The senior VP relocation person.
Disney, ladies and gentlemen.
Disney. Scheduled a meeting for when I was in Vegas last week, Zoom call. And when I got on the call and we started talking, it quickly came to me that I don't want all their business because I really don't fit all their business. When they're moving a high-end executive, they want a full-service move. They want the 2 big trucks, the 12 laborers coming to their house. What I learned from listening was that is the smallest portion of their moving business. So I threw out the term that I was interested in it being their B team, the team that handles all the small moves, the ones that your people are doing on their own, and you're just reimbursing them.
Right.
Just tell me more. Okay, so what they get is me, customer service, start to end. Tell me more. A couple different size containers. We have 255 warehouses around the country. Tell me more. This went on for 30 minutes. Got to the end of the 30 minutes, and she says, you have something here. Put everything you just said in bullet points. I don't want a letter. Just put it in bullet points. I think we got something here. I went from thinking I was going to go conquer all Disney and, be their number one mover to, let me get the B stuff. There's more B stuff than there was A stuff.
Yeah.
And I recognize that in swing.
And see, Ty, what I see? This is why I want to do a startup, fund it, and back Ed. And again, what you just did, you went up the ladder, you were focused, and you didn't just take no. And it was a very eloquent way you did that. And that's the type of thing that right there is so powerful. And if there was anything that people took from you on something like that, like just working that trend up the ladder, the way you did that. And that's for me, as the finance guy, I'm like, this is the guy that I want to show everybody else to do that, because that's really, at the end of the day, when you're running a business, it doesn't matter if you're selling pancakes, hats, security systems, pods, whatever the case may be. It's that, and the way he did it, now that customer basically is going to be, you own that relationship.
Yeah.
I was super excited because
I'm excited. I'm excited. I have nothing to do with it. I'm excited.
If I could nail 20 of those a year, that's $1 million in revenue.
I like that saying too. Own the relationship.
Oh, that's a very,
own
very
the
important.
relationship.
It's yours.
This goes through me.
Well, one of the things that we always struggle and where we build businesses is when you have sales versus account management.
Yeah.
Right?
Big difference.
It's a big difference. And in like a big company, you have pretty much an account management team. But in a smaller business, you might be the salesperson and the account manager as well. Not uncommon.
Very true. You're up there, Ty. What do you got?
So
Softballs.
I'm sure you've like a lot of these solutions. How long do these relationships last? Years.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean, if you manage the relationship the right way, it becomes
Perpetuity.
Yeah, it almost becomes, and you get set in these situations where they become pseudo personal relationships when you've been doing something with somebody for 30 years or what.
Well, that's where my question is going. How do you manage that? How do you manage those relationships and these people you've been with? I'm sure you've been with people for 5 and 10 plus years.
I think the first thing is you have to be honest with people.
Yeah.
And I think you can't be afraid, because what happens in business, you are going to screw up at some point in time.
Always.
And you can't be afraid to say, hey, I messed up. That's on me, but not run from it. I've been through several situations where I had to sit, I might have had nothing to do with it, but I've sat there and basically said, okay, now I own this and we're going to make it right. And I think a lot of customers, look, I can't tell you I've saved every customer at all. That's not the case. But I'll tell you, I've developed relationships with more customers than not.
One of my biggest customers, or most fun customers, New York Times Square Association, been working on them for 13 years. The greatest compliment I ever got was how you handled yourself during the worst time.
Is that Gary?
Yeah, very good, very good.
I called that. Look at that.
We botched the job bad. I was away on business at the time. Operations was throwing their hands. Basically, our forklift broke down at the warehouse, and we could not get their containers out to be delivered. And everybody ran from Gary.
They didn't want to take the calls.
They didn't want to take the calls. And I picked up the call and called him and said, dude, we fucked you. I'm sorry. Right now, your 2 containers are sitting in New Jersey City.
Yep.
I don't have a forklift. I can't even tell you when that forklift is coming.
Yep.
We're screwed right now.
Yep.
And he was furious. And within 3 days, I got it all resolved just in the nick of time. And he called me up. He says, next time your boss is in town, you guys got to come see me. I said, all right, sure. A few months later, the boss came to town. I took him to see Gary. And he said, if it wasn't for this man right here, you guys wouldn't even be our customer.
Yep.
He said, the way he dove in and took the beating, took my stabs, took the gunshots, took it all, when nobody else would answer my call, shows me what kind of sales guy he is. He's going to take responsibility.
Well, and I think that's part of, there's a difference between just being a sales person and a
salesman.
Right. And taking those bullets is kind of part of the process. Because even in your business, at some point,
something's going south.
Something's
going south.
Things go south a lot when you're moving junk and moving
we have
people's
fun
stuff.
because people I know that are doing business with me throw me under the bus to him and vice versa. And they don't know that we talked at the end of the
We're
job.
hand in hand. Sometimes I think the customer seems to think that, I don't know, they're like, maybe if I say this to, they're like, oh, don't tell Eddie that. Or this. And it's like, we're together on this. They try to pin us against each other because they don't have their stuff together.
Yeah, the biggest thing is if you're transparent and honest, it still might piss the customer off, but hey.
Honesty is my best policy.
Because you know what? A lot of people you're dealing with probably aren't honest.
Well, the people that I deal with are always in a bind. No matter what, it's moving days tomorrow, and you packed nothing.
Call anybody.
You sold the house. The closing day is tomorrow, and you still got 20 years worth of junk still in it. And so anytime they call
So how do
me,
you?
it's,
So if I call you, and I don't know if I veer, but stop me.
good.
So
Yeah,
if I
good.
call you, right, and okay, I'm closing,
yep.
and I got to get 20 years of crap out. My closing day's tomorrow. I've just kind of kept pushing. What do you do?
He shows
I
up.
show up with the trucks and the crew, and I let you know what the price is, and that thing is emptied within 4 hours.
And whatever, you ever deal with like a hoarder who's afraid to?
Those are my favorite. Those are my favorite. Yes, absolutely.
Not
I'm
the one
talking
in
about.
Howard Beach.
No, oh man, no.
won't go
Where they're
We won't
afraid to let
there.
go of anything.
Yeah,
and-
but no, yeah, the hoarder situations are my favorite because obviously I charge by the truckload, and when it comes to junk removal, there's different price scales for every different thing. But for junk removal, it's by the truckload, and sometimes you open people's houses and you got to just start picking from the door, just to get. You got to build
Like,
yourself a
You've
tunnel
seen the show, right?
to get.
Hoarder? Sure,
I've tried to
sure.
get. I've wrote them letters. I've because if you watch. They never highlight the company.
Right.
They usually highlight the specialists, the psychologists, and the people who are helping the hoarder.
Right.
But if you look behind them, it's either 1-800-GOT-JUNK. It's a
They're
bunch
they're subbing it
it's
out.
a bunch
Yeah.
of guys that
Yep.
they're subbing it out
Yep.
to, and I've tried to get on the show and just to do one of the clean outs for them and just to
Right.
have the company name there. And but I do a lot of those. There are a lot of those on Long Island and a lot of those in the boroughs. The boroughs the most, and it's bad because
Well,
it's
you're probably
infestation
like a therapist too, because the people don't want to let go of any of their
Yes.
stuff that's total trash.
Yeah, a lot of the times I deal with the family members who, let's say, the parent passed away,
Yep.
and they've been a hoarder for years, and the kids are just like, we don't know what to do with the stuff. And
Yep.
a lot of time it might be valuable things. This is a shame. That's why I prioritize donation and repurpose, reuse, things like that, because a lot of times people are throwing out good things that
Right.
people can use.
Right.
So that's why I literally prioritize my top selling point is that your things are going to be donated.
So you think about it, it's not just cleaning and removal. You're basically working with part of the fit because you're dealing with
Also
very
loading containers, unloading
and
trucks.
for this, I
you're
do
dealing with emotional situations.
yeah, and a lot of every pod that I load or do a job for, they are frantic. They don't know what to do. They don't even know how big this pod is that's coming. Even though they know the exact dimensions, their head is still not wrapped around what's going on. The pod shows up there. They're like, wait, my stuff's not going to fit in here,
Right.
you know? And then they're like, Eddie, how you going to tell me my stuff didn't fit in here?
I'm supposed to know
Because he's
what
supposed
they
to
got.
know.
I'm supposed to be able to have
He
X-ray
told you
vision.
16 by 8 by 6
And they
by
don't even know.
5
Yeah,
full-size
yeah,
rooms.
Right.
you know,
Right.
3 to 5
3 to
full
5
size
full
rooms.
size. That's the only thing I've ever said in 12
But people
years.
try to get 50 years into a pod, and I'm the one that's now there trying to explain to them, hey, you're going to have to get rid of some stuff.
Yep.
Take what you need.
You become a therapist.
Yeah.
And that's part of running a business. Yeah.
So, for you, your companies, I know you're very particular about being successful. What do you do to separate yourself from your competition? What do you, in your mind, when you're part of the organization, what do you do to separate yourself?
I really believe in bringing in good people. And I think I can't emphasize that enough. When you have the team behind you, because you can't, like, the thing I can learn or know is I can't do everything.
Right.
Right. And you can't scale a business if you think you can do everything. And if you bring the right team, and to be fair, you got to compensate people fairly. I've always said, hey, I bring in less people at a higher rate because you get more value.
They do more.
Right. You get more value.
yeah.
You get more value. When you get somebody that buys into your business, especially if you're a business owner, you get somebody that buys in, that's so valuable because in today's world, you think about how many people just jump around or are trying to make money on social media or, just it's a different
Taking the
generation.
shortcuts.
Right. So I'm a very, big people person. And I also like to have open communication. Like, I don't care what your role is. We're all the same. You could be a tech, you could be the janitor. It doesn't matter what my title is. We're all the same. And so if you can talk to everybody that way and make everybody feel inclusive as part of the process, I think that's a big deal.
It's like duplicating yourself. That way, when you talk to a client and you pass them off to your next colleague in your company, they're going to get the same thing that they got
And that's
when
key.
they got it from you.
That's key.
If they're your guys, which I know your guys, they believe in the Mark spirit and they act in the Mark spirit, and that's why.
Well,
you
that's a
bring them
very
along.
critical. Yeah. Well,
That's why you bring them along.
after 20 some odd years, you generate a snowball of people that you've worked with that you trust. And I'm very big on having people around that you trust because they do the right thing.
Yeah, well, let me tell you where that goes in my industry. my guys buy into it so much that some of them had tried to start their own companies and ended up coming right back to me because they're like,
It's so
because I don't,
easy.
but I don't hide. I'm like, this is what we're doing, man. This is the game. Because if you can go off and go get your own trucks and start doing stuff, that's better for me. Now I have a bigger network. Now when I grow, I could sub things out now.
Right.
Let's say my calendar's full. I
Right.
don't have to stop the leads coming in. You know how to do it, and you're great at it. And I trained you myself. You started your own company, and you're doing good. I'm going to sub some stuff out to you, and we're all going to grow.
Right. I think you get, what is this saying? You get more with honey than. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Okay, for our final question, can you discuss a challenging sales target you've met or exceeded in the security sector?
Let me think this through. Sure. So we've done some big integrations for some school districts. And, school districts in New York are set up one way. Other parts of the country, they're set up a different way. And
Probably the gun laws and stuff too, right?
not so much gun laws, but like New York is a little bit different. Like a typical school district in New York might be 5 to 8 buildings. If you go in other parts of the country, it could be a lot bigger.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just right. But we
And-
also have 93 school districts.
125 across Nassau and Suffolk
Oh,
County.
really?
Yeah, it's 125 school districts here in Long Island. Correct. But if you go other places, it's a different situation.
Right,
yeah.
And how you can basically roll, it's almost like the same thing as doing like a city. Like we've done a city before. It's how do you basically coordinate? It's not so much a challenge of putting anything up. It's really how do you coordinate personalities, right? Because when you're dealing with a bigger project, you might see this too. You have, an IT guy, a construction guy, a project manager. Different people have different egos and the communication style. So the challenge isn't so much the work. It's really how do you basically follow your customers' guidelines, your team's guidelines, and whatnot. And so whether you're doing on a small security system, let's suppose we're doing a big house in Garden City, I'm just growing.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing a big mansion there, okay, and putting a system there, or you're doing a multi-building city or school district somewhere else, it's all how you communicate and deal with the customer.
So I'm going to throw a monkey wrench at him. So how do you deal with that know-it-all customer who is a techie and knows this inside and out, and he's trying to tell you he knows more than you during the sales process?
Tell me, what would you do? And that's what I'm saying.
Find his weakness.
No. What I'm saying is I bring him in part of the process. Listen, all right, dude, you're smarter than me. No
What's
problem.
next?
Yeah, you tell me.
What's this?
Like you're part of the team. You're now part of my installation team.
Thank you.
So does this work for you? You're cool. This makes sense. This is what we would do. Does this make sense for you? Look, again, at this point, after how many years of doing this stuff, you can't really have an ego.
Yeah.
Like you just get past that. 15 years ago, it'd be different for me. But now at this point, it's like no ego. Whatever you think makes sense, great. If it doesn't work for you, no problem as well. You move on.
Is that process usually long for that decision to be made?
Sometimes, depends on the type of customer. The bigger the customer, usually the longer the process.
I bet you they all come to you, like you go see them and then something bad happens and then you get a phone call the next day.
What'll happen is we call it hurry up to wait.
Hurry up to wait.
Wait, we need some time. Oh, we just had a situation.
We should have had you 6 months ago.
Right, and so that's not uncommon, and that's just not uncommon in the security space at all.
Yeah, it's like when you want to wait until everything blows up, you want to have insurance.
Right.
So we like to finish the Q&A, and we like to include you in this part. Big wins, best connection of the week segment. So either you had a big win or you made a great connection, and we tell that story. So I told my story. It was the Disney story. That was my best story, the best connection of the week.
I have a quick one. I had an old colleague call me about a realtor that manages a bunch of buildings in Queens and Brooklyn, and is looking for relocators and labor, junk removal for all of these buildings. So I'm supposed to be having a lunch similar to the lunch we had with Stephanie, to walk the buildings, to see, what's going on. I think they're going to be doing some construction. So I'm even hoping to shoot for doing the demolition and removal, on the construction that they're doing. 'Cause I know it's hard to place dumpsters sometimes in the boroughs and things like that. So if they can have trucks on site with guys taking the demo out as they do it, they can work faster. So I'm just looking at different angles I can go at it with.
What about you, Mark? Big wins, best connection?
Well, I'll answer it a little differently. So best connection is the relationship I have with some of the Integritus guys who you met. All right. And they have relationships that go 25, 30 years, we talked about earlier. So we just landed 2 major customers on the retail side, significant national retailers that roll out. One rolled out as of March 1st, the other one hopefully as of April 1st or so. So big
Do we want to say the name or no?
We don't want to say that.
We'll
Well,
keep it
I
on
mean,
the
I'd like to
wraps.
say
Okay,
the
we'll
name,
keep it
but
on the wraps.
I
That's
never
fine.
know what I get in trouble for and what I
Okay,
don't.
well,
So,
we will
yeah.
not ask that
Yeah.
question.
Awesome, though. Awesome. Big wins and big new connections for the week.
So we're winding down the 3rd episode of How to Become a Sales Warrior.
Great episode, man. It was great to meet you, Mark.
Likewise, thank you guys for having
We're
me on.
going to let Ty do his closing because he's our sponsor for the old fashioned.
Again, it is Magic Junk and Cleaning. You can find us at themagicjunk.com, 631-615-3853. We are the one-stop shop for all your removal, moving, and cleaning needs. Anything you need, we can do it. We usually do the things that nobody wants to do. So the basements and the attics and we're crawling into the crawl spaces and we're getting all of that stuff out of there for you. All right?
Want to give a shout out to your company, Mark?
I would just say, we're the Integritus Group. We handle all your loss prevention outsourced needs, small or big, all around the country.
How do we find you?
Integritusgroup.com. Theintegritusgroup.com.
Awesome.
Don't
I
forget
had
the
to do the too, right? Domain.
There you
Domain.
go. That's how it goes.
You know, when I was putting this whole thing together and building my website, I started giving out my email addresses. The Sales Warrior. It's like, no, it's how to become a sales. I kept on screwing it up and I was giving out the wrong information. So now, if you need me, it's Eddie at howtobecomeasaleswarrior.com. That'll bring you right to me. Or www.howtobecomeasaleswarrior.com. If you need some help with your sales team, you're looking for a little bit of one-on-one coaching or team coaching, you have a trade show coming up. Have me come in for an hour, give the team a pregame warm-up list of what to do, what not to do, and what to do on the follow-up. Once again, thank you everyone for being here. Episode number 3 in the books.
And pick up a copy of that book.